banquet room, please. We need our tech guy too, Dan, John. All right, here they come, here they come. We've been here for 3 days. We started with early morning meetings for some of the subgroups on Tuesday. We had our board luncheon. This is our final and last plenary. And I'll tell you, it didn't matter what time of day I was here, if it was 8 o'clock in the morning, if it was 8 o'clock at night, these staff were here to take care of us. We owe them much gratitude. The pleasure was all ours, trust us. You know, I was talking to a couple of the staff last night, and this is the sign of a well-run organization. Much like we're celebrating years of service with our employees, there are members that were there in the food service industry who've been with this establishment for 30 years. Now, I ran a restaurant for 13 years, and I felt pretty good that I had several waitresses who'd been with me that long, but 13 is a long ways from 30. So, you're doing something right. Keep it up. All right, as is customary at the ICAA conference, you get to hear a little bit about the State Association, and as the director of ICAA, I'm the one who gets to deliver the message. Typically, we do this early in the conference, usually the first session, but because of keynote schedules and the way the conference worked out this year, I'm doing it now, which is great because that means, well, you maybe didn't know this about me, but I am a bit of a procrastinator. Tiffany likes to say I work best under pressure with a deadline, so I started writing this speech on Monday. I've been thinking about this speech for a long time, but I actually sat down and started putting the words on paper on Monday. So you're going to hear some thoughts about the State Association and about us as ICAA, which is you are ICAA. And I decided Monday evening that I wanted to frame this as if it were a commencement address. You know, celebration, inspiration. Some of you know, because I've talked about this before, I have a daughter who graduated from Wellesley, and there was nothing like a Wellesley graduation because it's 400 crazy women screaming at the top of their lungs. Are you going to do that? We might have a little variety because we're not all women, but it's a great experience and it is very inspirational. So that's, what did you say, Ron?
I said, thank goodness.
Well, maybe we should have the women do it just for Ron. No, just kidding. As I said, I did start thinking about this several months ago, and in April, it was April 1st, I was up early on a Sunday morning. NPR, my radio station of choice, has a very interesting theological, spiritual, religious show on early morning Sundays called On Being, hosted by a woman with a great NPR voice, Kristen Tippett. And her guest that day was a man by the name of Father Greg Boyle. Now he's a Jesuit priest. He's pretty well known for his work in bringing gang members into a world outside of the gang world. And he's started an organization called Homeboy Industries where they're doing great job creation activities. He did kind of what we do. They did a needs assessment in Los Angeles, and they found that these young adults, mostly young adults, were having a hard time finding jobs, so they just started creating jobs for them. So they have a bakery, and they have all kinds of cool, innovative job opportunities for He calls them homies who are coming off the streets into society outside of the gang world. So he was talking about a book that he just written. We've got a lot about books this year at our conference. His is called Tattoos on the Heart, The Power of Boundless Compassion. And I was really moved by his comments. And with pie crust on my hands, I got out my pen and wrote down his name so that I could get on the NPR website and listen to this broadcast several times. So I'm borrowing a lot of what he said. His message that day was about compassion, hope, love, and kinship. Now, we heard a lot yesterday from Mark Schreiber. Wasn't he, fabulous? Out of this world. He talked a lot about love. He talked a lot about hope. So I'm going to take the piece of this message that had to do with compassion and kinship. I love the word kinship. The word. It's kind of an old word. We don't use it very much anymore. And I love what I think of when I hear that word. And like most words, it has a variety of definitions. But the one that I think best represents what Father Boyle means when he talks about kinship is this one. A web of social relationships that form an important part of the lives of most humans in most societies. Now, Father Boyle believes that we measure compassion not by how well we do in delivering service, but by how well we do in forming kinship. How well we do in engaging in relationship that makes a difference. Now, there's a lot of talk these days about outcomes, measurable outcomes, being able to show the work that we do makes a difference. That is extremely important. We have to have that kind of information to justify that we're good stewards of the resources and we're making a difference in people's lives. And, now I didn't say but, I said and. If we view service as, and this is a quote from Father Boyle, the hallway to kinship. In other words, if we see the programs that we deliver and the services that we provide as the way to get to relationship, then we begin to develop kinship. Now, there's no step one, step two, letter A, letter B, manner in which to get to this place that we call kinship. But I put together a few ideas that I see as some general guidelines that we might want to think about as a network of poverty fighters and an attempt for us to become in kinship with others. Number one, and this one comes from Father Boyle. It's much about what his book refers to. Find the light in one another. He states over and over again, it doesn't matter your faith or spiritual tradition. This is our shared text. This is our common call about finding delight. We heard about it yesterday from Mark Schreiber. He talked about his parents and their abundance, joy, and pleasure in each other and in the world. And I think Mark Schreiber found great delight in us. He loved being here. He loved being a part of our event. Do you agree? He loved being a part of something that his Father created. And that's because of us, and that's because of what we do, and it's because of who we serve. What if every person who came to a community action agency left the interaction that they had with our staff feeling delightful? They found joy. They found hope. And you saw this interaction with each person as the beginning of kinship. And not only do we do that with the people we serve, we do that with our staff, with our community collaborators, with our policymakers. And I have to tell you, the ICA staff is very important for me in terms of kinship. And you know what? ICA is you, and I want you to know the ICA staff. So I'm going to have them come up here on stage, all 5 of you. Where are the other 3? Janae is first, Janae Buchanan. Most of you will know Janae through emails. We like to say she runs the show. She keeps us all in line. Her official title is Executive Administrative Assistant, but she does so much more than that. Next to her is Tiffany Kynan. Tiffany is our training director. These 2 have been with the agency for 7 years. Into the 7th year. They started on the same day. Janae was a temp first, and then she became a full-time employee on the same day that Tiffany did. Many of you know Tiffany from her trainings. She's out there doing trainings. She's the one who sends the training blast. She's the one who trains your boards. She's the Roma person. You want to know something about Roma? Tiffany's the ICA person to ask, because I can hardly remember what Roma stands for. Next is Laura Aldridge. Laura is the director of our Public Allies AmeriCorps program. Laura has brought to me great learning in terms of youthfulness and diversity and speaking as loud as you can about the assets and values in each and every person. She's perfect for community action. Laura's been with us 2 years. It'll be 3 years in August, starting her 3rd year. Next to her is Ashley Kenny, one of our Public Allies program managers. She's our lead program manager. Many of you know her because you have a public ally, and she's kind of your go-between as a partnering organization and us, the organizing partner. Ashley brings tremendous depth of knowledge. She worked in higher education during her master's degree, so she's an excellent person to be working with our public allies. Can see the potential in all of them. And newest, let's see, Ashley's been with us a year. And the newbie on the block is Brandon Pollard. He's just started as our Public Ally Summer Program Director, and you've heard about our 20 Summer Allies who are doing our marketing campaign, and Brandon is working with them to make sure they produce high quality materials for your agencies. And this is your ICA team. Great kinship. No matter whatness. Spell check didn't like that word, whatness, but I do. And really, to me, that means society should never accept that being poor is the reason for doing or not doing anything, no matter what. But of course, we know, because of our relationship with the people that we serve, that there's a lot of work to be done, because we know lacking resources does prevent people from doing all kinds of good and important and wonderful things. The mission of ICA is to be a forceful advocate in support of policies and services that address the needs of individuals and families striving for economic security. Our vision is that Iowa Community Action is the premier force ensuring that those with less achieve more. And if we want to remove that barrier of lacking resources, we have a lot of policies that need to be changed. And if we want those with less to achieve more, we cannot let the lack of money get in the way of their progress and improvement. This applies to our people. As I said yesterday when I read from Sergeant Schreiber from Mark's book. It applies to the communities where we all work and strive to alleviate the causes and conditions that perpetuate poverty where we live. I've been reading another book called Our Kids, The American Dream in Crisis. It's written by a Harvard professor named Robert Putnam. I can't put this book down. 284 pages full of stories about families and kids from different income levels. He's masterful at weaving data and stories together to tell about the gap in our world today, but primarily in America. And the final chapter of his book offers some suggestions on how we might restore a greater chance for upward mobility. Community action agencies could discuss those ideas, and we could add our own, the things that we need to change, so that no matter what, families can improve their lives. If we don't do that, it's a disservice to Sergeant Schreiber. And we have been working on a lot of policy issues. Wasn't our best year at the legislature, but there's always another year. The budget was very tight this year. We've had very little success in getting any increased funding, but I think the way to frame this is it's a good year to not have funds reduced, because there were a lot of programs where there were reductions, and we didn't see that. So that is in and of itself a victory. I wish I had better news, but of course they're not done yet at the legislative session, but they're winding down, so. Number 3, now, hear this. Now, in the moment, here, wherever you are. Right now, it's this conference. This luncheon, this event. Later, this will be something else. Soon it will be taking a LIHEAP application. Soon it will be getting kids into Head Start. That will be the this. What I think these 3 words mean is to be present and to be real. In all that you do, no matter where we do it, no matter what we're doing. Now, and here, and this. Be spacious, make room for all of who we are. Be open to new ideas. Keep learning, keep asking the questions. What do people need? What do communities need? What does our agency need? The ICAA Board of Directors we went through a strategic planning process this last year. They were so spacious, open, in conversation about what they want ICAA to be, what they need. And so now we're going to have a research and marketing department within the division within the community action agencies, because they were open to those new ideas. They kept asking, what do we need? And we are very excited about the opportunities that are going to come with this change. Community action, helping people, changing lives. We help people through the programs and services that we provide, and through the work we do in our communities. We change lives when we build kinship. And we build kinship with the people we serve, the people we work with, and in the communities where we strive to improve the conditions in which our families live. And in the spirit of celebration and graduation, I'm going to again pull out Sergeant Schreiber's book, because you know Sergeant Schreiber spoke at a commencement. And I won't read it all, just a few sentences. It was at Yale University. I think he was 76 years old. And Mark writes in here, you know, when your parents get to be that old, you think this might be their last hurrah, so you start going to things. And so he went, and his father says this to the graduates. I suggest this: when you get to be 30, 40, 50, or even 70 years old, You'll get more happiness and contentment out of counting your friends than counting your dollars. You'll get more satisfaction from having improved your neighborhood, your town, your state, your country, and your fellow human beings than you'll ever get from your muscles, your figure, your automobile, your house, or your credit rating. You'll get more being a peacemaker than a warrior, and I've been both, so I speak from experience. So, I say to you, it's been a delightful week. Thank you for being here, now, for being this conference. Thank you for being spacious, going to the workshops, learning, sharing, being creative, being open to new ideas. And I'm honored to build kinship with each of you. Thank you. We've been talking all week that the board of directors already approved the conference for next year, which we were very excited about and forgot to promote. So mark your calendars, June 14th through the 16th next year. Be here.
Quick transition here.